while we're talking about Texas, let's talk a little bit about Quinn Ewers, because we got an update from Steve Sarkisian on Quinn Ewers heading into the Texas A&M game. He has an ankle injury coming out of the Kentucky game, and they had an MRI, but Sark before practice yesterday said he's planning on practicing. It looks like Quinn Ewers is going to be ready to go for this game. He's got a PrizePicks square already, Ari. So Quinn Ewers PrizePicks square, 4 passing yards against Texas A&M is up. PrizePicks, best daily fantasy game in America. Download the app. Use the code Staples when you sign up. Play $5, get $50 instantly. So 235.5 passing yards for Quinn Ewers, which, by the way, he's done that 2 of his last 5 games. Has not done it in his last 2 games. He's not gone more than that in his last 2 games. And so, I'm sorry, it's up to 237.5 this morning. So, Ari, I look at what Peyton Thorne did to Texas A&M's defense last week. It felt like those Auburn receivers, which they've gotten better over the course of the season, and Peyton Thorne has gotten better over the course of the season. I feel like Quinn Ewers could have a big game if he's able to move around enough with the ankle.
Yeah, so that's the only concern I have. You're talking about a player that, depending on how injured he is, Andy, might not play the whole game if he like aggravates it or isn't mobile enough. So like whenever you start getting into that, plus on top of that, like I think that A&M is going to make things really difficult for Texas. Like my less than radar is going off pretty hotly here. Like I think that Quinn Ewers could throw for 215 and they could win. But I don't think that it's going to be a 400-yard passing game. Like this is an automatic more than. What's your thought process?
It's going to be hard to operate the offense in that environment, but I will tell you, okay, here's Peyton Thorne's stat line against A&M last week. 19 of 31 for 301 yards, 9.7 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. You throw up a stat line like that, you're going to win with Texas's defense playing on the other side of this thing. So it's really up to A&M to disrupt him. It's up to that Kyle Field crowd to disrupt him, because I think that's going to be the biggest factor. And home field advantage matters. Like Auburn is a tough place to play. Kyle Field's going to be a tough place to play. There's a reason the EA Sports people made Kyle Field the toughest place to play in the game. Like it is
so excited
in there.
Did you hear my voice crack? That's how excited I am. I can't wait to get there. So I just found out, Andy, that okay, you finish your point. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, so if we're doing squares here, if we're looking at Quinn Ewers square, the less than might be maybe the safer play, because that hedges you against something happens and they have to go to Arch because he's injured.
Yeah. And I said that Arch would potentially play in this game, and you didn't think that was a hot take when I said it. So
no,
take that
it's like saying before the season that Arch was going to start some games. It wasn't a hot take because history has told us that that's how it goes.
Yeah, the lack of mobility plus Texas A&M's defensive line makes me think this is going to be an absolute banger of a game. Like there, in the back of my head too, like I do wonder. I will be honest with you, Andy. I do wonder. I think very highly of Texas, and I think very highly of Steve Sarkisian as a play caller and somebody who draws up good ball plays. So part of me is like, Texas A&M really isn't that good. Texas is a team I think it's built in a way to win a national title. Like they could go to College Station and just kick the shit out of them. Like in my head, I think that that's a possibility. But on the other hand, I think they could lose. So like I'm having a hard time like parsing through how I think this is going to manifest. Like if it is as crazy as I think it's going to be there, Andy, that defensive line plus the lack of a mobility, I think that is your map. Like get after Quinn as much as you can. I think is your map for A&M to be in this football game.
Absolutely. And they will. And if it becomes a problem, they'll go to Arch, which I realize people don't want to hear that, but that's for Texas. That's a blessing to be able to say that, because how many other teams would you feel that confident in your backup that you could go to them and maybe still win this game? I don't think there's a lot of teams in the country that would feel that confident going to their backup.
Yeah.
So
I would feel more confident if his reps were a little bit more frequent the last month in terms of, when he came in the Georgia game and when he would have to come in this environment.
But he's played full game, so we've seen
I know
that.
he has played. Yeah, but if he does come in too, you got to give him more than a series. Like if you're gonna do it, you got to do it. So I thought that the way that they used him in the Georgia game was nonsense. Like I thought that was crazy.
Well, they were just trying to get something started because they couldn't do anything, and he couldn't do anything against that defense either. But neither could Quinn. So, and then Quinn settled. But there's nothing they can do about that now. You just roll Quinn out there, hope for the best. But unlike most teams, if it's not the best, you have an option, whereas most teams wouldn't have an option. All right, download that PrizePicks app. Use the code Staples. Play 5, get $50 instantly.